Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and today's mailbag is presented by RexMD. Head on over to rexmd.com/chat, the #1 leader. And if you can't get it up, guess what? These guys, they're going to help you get it up. So every time we do a mailbag, we go live on Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. All the questions, comments that you see are from our live audience on that day. This one, we're rolling in from Patrick B. Do we try and get Devin White from Tampa Bay? He wants a new contract, so it would be smart to try and get him or pass and draft the linebackers. I'm going to be 100% honest with y'all. I think Devin White is one of the most overrated players in the NFL. He's a good tackler, but there is a legitimate thing where he might be the worst coverage linebacker in the National Football League. Like, there was a year in 2020, he had a good season, 9 sacks. He gets a lot of tackles, and yeah, he still racks up a few sacks here and there. But to me, he has zero versatility whatsoever. He's playing on his 5th year. If Tampa doesn't want to trade him, to me, Tampa's going to end up having to pay him. I don't want to have to pay a one-dimensional linebacker the amount of money that Devin White's probably looking for on top of that draft compensation. Where you look at the Jeffrey Okudah trade that just went down, where Atlanta was able to get him for a 5th rounder. I'll tell you this right now. If Jeff Okudah's going for a 5th, I'd offer Devin White. You're probably looking at a 4th or a 5th rounder on top of that. Tampa would want way more for him. I know there's a lot of people out there that like Devin White. He is bad in coverage. PFF thinks he's a terrible linebacker on top of that. He gets the tackles, and that's great and all. But I do think that the NFL, and I think even Devin White, has his mindset a little bit too high for what it would cost. Let's go to Cameron Sproul. If the Raiders stand pat at 7, they need to take Tyree Wilson. If they get him to pair with Max, we won't need to take a DB that high. We can wait until later rounds. I still think, though, you need to be able to find cornerback early on. If you want to take a Tyree Wilson at 7 and then potentially a Deonta Banks is there at 38 as an option, I think he's a good player. I think it would be a really good need. The way, though, the Raiders, this would be very telling to me, if the Raiders were to take somebody like Tyree Wilson at 7, that would indicate to me that they're a little bit nervous of the injury that Chandler Jones sustained at the end of last season. Next one here on today's show from Nothing Tis Same. Will the Raiders franchise tag Josh Jacobs? They already franchise tagged Josh Jacobs. In terms of, I think what you're asking is, will they extend him? Will they extend him? I do think that a deal ultimately gets done. The unfortunate part for Jacobs is right now the NFL is a league that doesn't pay their running backs a lot of money. He's 25, 26 years old, coming off an incredible season. He's getting ready to enter the prime of his career. But when you see a lot of these contracts that happen after the deal, then the running back doesn't usually have as good of a year. It begins to decline a little bit. For the Raiders and their salary cap, though, I do think that they end up getting a contract extension done. They lower his salary cap for this season, backloaded a little bit more. He wants to be a Raider. He just wants to make his money and knows after the season that he just had, it's probably the best year for them to end up getting a deal done. So what do y'all think? Give me a yes. Give me a no. Do you think that the Raiders will end up extending Josh Jacobs? They got to get this deal done somewhere around July 15th, July 17th, and somewhere in there if they do want to end up getting it done. If not, Jacobs has to sign his franchise tag by that date, or else it's going to get into a little bit more of a sticky situation. Give me a yes or give me a no. Let's go to Dylan. Josh McDaniels sucks, just saying. If he wants to save his job, he might as well trade for the 3rd pick and D-Hop if he wants to win and keep the job. I mean, here's the problem with that, though. If you trade all the way up to number 3, you better have a quarterback in mind. What happens, you trade up to 3 right now, and the quarterback that you want's not there? Now you're stuck taking a guy that you don't want. Now you're stuck taking a QB that you're literally betting your entire job on. So to me, I don't see the Raiders trading up to number 3 before the NFL draft. If there's a scenario where Houston doesn't take a QB at 2, and if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know that I've been talking about this, that Houston's not a lock to take a QB at 2. Schefter confirmed it on Tuesday. Chugs and I have been talking about this for weeks because that's not usually Houston's MO. If a QB like Stroud or Bryce Young becomes available at 3, That's where you see the Raiders pull the trigger here and go after it. Josh McDaniels sucks, and if you suck in the bedroom, well then, hey, listen up. RexMD is here to help you out. Only $2 per dosage at rexmd.com/chat. Huge shout out to them for sponsoring today's show. Fellas, do you sometimes lack the confidence in the bedroom? We've all had those nights where we get too nervous or maybe have had too much to drink. There is nothing worse than not being able to put the stick shift in drive when you need it the most. But have no fear, RexMD is here spreading all the cheer when you've had, I don't know, maybe a few too many beers. RexMD is FDA approved and the most trusted leader in men's telehealth. They have sponsored the Raiders Report to help you always be prepared. RexMD has made it simple, easy, and cost-effective to help all the men out there last longer and feel more confident in the bedroom. RexMD makes getting generic and brand of Viagra or Cialis easy. Everything's online, even the prescription. And they deliver it discreetly to your door. No waiting rooms, no embarrassing trips to the doctor, no insurance, and no co-pays. Take advantage of their best deal they've ever offered. Save up to 90% off and only pay $2 per dosage with our exclusive link. Go to rexmd.com/chat for a limited time deal. Starter packs of generic Viagra or Cialis are now available for our listeners to get started. That's rexmd.com/chat for up to 90% off. I know sometimes it's hard to wrap your mind around this, but it's even harder to wrap your hand around something that's a little bit loosey-goosey. I heard that Will Levis is visiting Tampa. If Levis falls to us at 7, what are the chances we trade back to 19 and the compensation? I mean, the chances are very small. Any trade back to an exact team, the chances of that are small. I do think, though, that there's going to be some NFL teams out there that are going to show interest. In terms of if Tampa wanted to go from 19 all the way up to 7, you would get, obviously, their first-round pick this year. You'd also get a first-round pick in next year's draft, and then at minimum, probably a second-round pick, whether it's in this year's draft or next year's draft. Tampa would have to give up a lot to go up and get their guy. Are we going to take the corner from Oregon? I want y'all for one quick second. Spam Sergio Orozco. He's an MVP on today's live show, and he was our MVP last week as well. I love, personally, Christian Gonzolez. I think he's the top cornerback in this year's class. And it's getting even more harder, shout out to XMD, because I look at, him and I look at Witherspoon, and those two now are like 1A, 1B for me. Joey Porter Jr. is starting to fall down a little bit more. Deonta Banks is starting to catch him. I think Christian Gonzolez, Devon Witherspoon are the top 2 cornerbacks in this year's class, and I would love either of them at number 7. Let's go to Joe Herman Jr. If Okudah is a 5th, what is Greg Newsome worth? It's kind of funny that you asked this. So I talked to our Browns host out there. His name's Matthew Peterson. And he said that the Browns would want a second-round pick for Greg Newsome. Now, there was a report that came out early on Tuesday that he wanted to be traded. Greg Newsome then quote-tweeted it and was like, no, this isn't true. The dude ended up, deleting his Twitter. Greg Newsome, though, is a corner. If you've watched the show for a while, when he was coming out in the NFL draft at a Northwestern, was a player that I did actually like quite a bit. Second-round pick, I'll tell you this right now. I ain't giving up a second-round pick for Greg Newsome. That's a fact. If he's available if Okudah's going for a 5th, I'd say let's offer him a 4th or a 5th-round pick for Greg Newsome as well. However, though, I do think this is an interesting question because there have been some trade rumors around Newsome earlier last month. Jeff Okudah literally just got traded to the Atlanta Falcons if you're watching this live today. If not, he got traded on Tuesday. Who do you think's the better player, the better corner? If you think it's Okudah, give me a J.O. If you believe it's Greg Newsome from Cleveland, then give me a G.M. Next one, we're on in here. Carter Witherspoon Gonzalez. If you told me that I had to rank these players on where the Raiders would have them on their big board, I would say that the Raiders would have it ranked as Christian Gonzolez, Devon Witherspoon, Jalen Carter. Where do I have these players ranked? I have it as Christian Gonzolez, then Jalen Carter, then Devon Witherspoon. Carter to me fills the biggest need. He's the best player in this year's draft, but the off-field shit, it scares the hell out of me. Let's go to Jeremy Wiley. Would it cost us a 2nd or a 3rd for White? If it costs you a 2nd or a 3rd for Devin White, one, I don't think Tampa Bay accepts that. And on top of that, you have to then pay him more. Like, he wants probably, 15 a year, 16 a year. I ain't doing that for Devin White. He is terrible in coverage. I wouldn't make the trade. I'm telling you that right now. I do not want the Raiders to trade for Devin White. I don't think it would make a lot of sense for this team with all of their needs and what the Raiders honestly need at linebacker. You need somebody that can cover. He ain't that guy. He's a liability in coverage. Now, if you don't already know, Jeremy Jugs and I are going to be doing the one-chip challenge this Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. What did I say? Oh, Jugs isn't doing it. Me and Trizzy Trace, sorry. We're doing the one-chip challenge this Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Pacific. So you get an extra live show, and hopefully, if it goes well, we're going to do live shows every single Thursday going forward. So if you could, subscribe, turn on those notifications. I don't want you to miss it. In terms of some of our loyal watchers over the past week, I got to give a huge shout-out to Sergio Orozco. He's been the biggest MVP that I think that we've had over the last 2 weeks. Him and NYX. Rebel Montana, LQ Sports 209, Michael Yukon, and then Oscar DLT. There's so many other names that I could mention. Obviously, Mount Raidermore always goes into that equation. But I see people who do watch this show. We appreciate it. We see it. And I just want y'all to know that it doesn't go unnoticed. So we salute to you. Let's go to Paul. What up, Paul? Hate to say it. Forget the draft. Best thing we lose the first 4 games. And Zeeler and Clown get fired. I mean, unfortunately, even if the Raiders lose their first 4 games, McDaniels and Zeeler aren't getting fired. And if the Raiders do end up taking a quarterback early, no matter what, their job is safe in my book then until 2024. Because if you take a QB early, that tells Mark Davis that, hey, our plan is to take this QB, we're going to let him learn, and then we're going to hand him the keys to the car in 2024. That essentially buys them that extra season. Whether you like it or whether you don't like it, he's going to be, McDaniels and Zeeler are going to be back in 2024, I think, just about no matter what. Let's go to this next one. Rolling in here from Trevor. Am I crazy for wanting a top wide receiver if they fall to 38? Are you crazy for that? No. However, though, I'd be pretty pissed off if the Raiders took a wide receiver. This wide receiver class is not all that deep. My favorite wide receiver in this year's class is Jackson Smith and Jigba. Yeah, I wouldn't want Quentin Johnson at 38. I mean, he's a good player and all. He's a good athlete. But for the Raiders, your deepest position, I would say, is wide receiver. Like, I just don't understand the idea of you taking a receiver at 38. If there was a dude who was supposed to go in like the top 10 and he ends up falling to 38, maybe that's a different scenario, but the Raiders are good at tight end. I think they're good at wide receiver. You still need another tight end, but nah, I'm good on the wide receivers. Let's go to B-Rabe. Okay, trade back, draft Brian Bresee, Kelly Ringo, Nolan Smith? Is that who you mean with Smith? Well, no, he's not going to be there. Oh, are you saying your first pick, your second pick, your third pick, fourth pick, fifth pick? Okay, so Brian Bresee, Ringo, Cam Smith, South Carolina corner. Let's go with that route. Zach Kuntz, Demarion Overshown. I would give that rating overall. Oh, man. B+. Like, I like Brian Bresee, though. My question is, how far back are you trading? Like, to me, that's not a player that I really want to go and take in the top 20. Keely Ringo, interesting prospect, hell of a player overall. To me, I think he could play. Like, Keely Ringo, I'm curious if he stays at corner. Like, when the Raiders drafted Jonathan Abram, they took him because he was a great athlete. Keely Ringo, I think, could be an interesting player where if they tried to put him in like a Jabril Peppers type of role back with Patrick Graham. Zach Kuntz is incredible. Overall, though, yeah, I'm going to give it a B+. Let's go to Jim Brown, a super thanks. Thanks for always keeping us up to date with the latest news in the black and silver. First off, silver and black, Jim. So we got to get it together. It's boot time at the TNBC Raider event this weekend. So sounds like Jim's going to be at the Raider event. If anybody wants to come hang out with Jeremy Chugs and I, also Graphic Raider is going to be there with us. There's going to be hundreds, and I mean hundreds of Raiders fans at this address. The event itself starts at 4 p.m. It goes until midnight. Chugs and I, though, we're not going to get there until about 7 p.m. So if you live near Dallas, Texas, put this address right now into your phone, save it. if you're like, I'm not too far away, I can make the drive, can make the trip, you want to fly in? Let's do it. Jugs and I are going to be there. We're going to have some boots, we're going to have some beers, and we're going to have a good time. So with that being said, could you beat me in a beer shotgun race? I don't know how many beers I plan on taking down. Jugs and I are going to bring our own Happy Dads, so I'll probably be doing some of that. I'm going to offer a few beer shotgun races. We're going to record some videos. We're going to post them on YouTube, and I think, they're going to be on Twitter. They're going to be on IG. So if you want to give me a follow on any of those spots, at MitchellRentz365, and I would love to even be able to put some content out on locals as well. So, RaidersReport.locals.com. Let's go to a super chat, and then we'll end today's mailbag. It's rolling in from a man that should be feared and messed with from nobody. James Effin Lillard. Mitch, do you draft a corner or trade for Okudah? Oh, James. You should follow me on Twitter. James, I feel like is, do you use dial-up, James? Are you a big, reads the newspaper for news guy? Jeff Okudah got traded this morning, James. He's a member of the Atlanta Falcons for a 5th-round pick. So if these are my scenarios, I would probably say you should draft a corner.